With bad weather forecasted over the North Sea and northern Germany, but clear weather forecasted over southern Germany, Harris opts to continue his attacks on southern German cities. Stuttgart, the capital of Württemberg and the most important industrial city in southern Germany, will be attacked. Containing 5 aircraft or aero engine works, 35 engineering or armament works, 3 non-ferrous manufacturing works, 4 major utility works, and 5 transportation facilities. Stuttgart is home to the Daimler-Benz works, the Bosch works, and the Norma and Esslinger Maschinen and Fabrik works, which all produce between them aero engines, fuel injection pumps, magnetos, ball bearings, and locomotive engines. Broken cloud is predicted over France before clearing out over Germany. The crescent moon will sit low in the sky until 60 minutes after 0 hour, increasing the visibility of the bombers to German night fighters. A similar route to the one used on the Munich raid is chosen for tonight, as Stuttgart sits 230 kilometers west of Munich. 3 turns are plotted in order to route the bomber stream further south through the night fighter boxes in France. The first turn is plotted near Dieppe on the French coast, the second at Chalon-sur-Marne, and the third at Bischmiller. Why aircraft are to drop incendiaries over Baden-Baden on the way to Stuttgart to assist in navigation for the main force. Only Lancasters, Halifaxes, and Stirlings will be sent. The crew of 314 bombers find their names on the battle order for tonight. Taking their places at the briefing huts that evening, they sit and listen to the plan of attack. Once again, John Searby from 106 Squadron is taking part, his 9th raid in 18 nights. Ronald Reed from 78 Squadron also finds his name on the battle order, his 3rd raid in 6 days. Despite the flawed marking at Munich on March 9th, the Pathfinder marking plan was deemed sound and would be repeated tonight. 12 H-2S equipped Y aircraft will open the attack at 0-1 minute, dropping red indicators blindly on Stuttgart while releasing sticks of flares. 16 Pathfinder backers up will follow at 1 to 2 minute intervals, dropping green indicators on the aiming point if visible, or aiming at the center of burning red indicators if not. The main force will open their attack at 22:49 hours and end by 23:15 hours, some 26 minutes. The main force is again instructed to aim at the center of burning indicators, irrespective of color, and not attempt to visually identify the aiming point. The attacking force is divided into 4 waves, with 35 Halifaxes of 6th Group Royal Canadian Air Force bombing from 22:49 to 2300 hours, 67 Halifaxes of 4 Group bombing from 22:55 to 23:05 hours, 43 Stirlings of 3 Group bombing from 2300 to 23:10 hours, and 137 Lancasters of 1 and 5 Group bombing from 23:03 to 23:15 hours. Concurrently, 9 Stirlings from 3 Group and 3 Lancasters from 5 Group will drop sea mines off the Frisian Islands and west coast of France. Briefings concluded, the crews begin their familiar routine of kitting up and passing the time. At Linton-on-Ouse, the Halifaxes of 78 Squadron line up on the main runway, each awaiting their turn to get airborne. Drowned out by the roaring engines are the voices of Ron Reed and his crew, performing their good luck ritual by singing a song over the intercom. As their Halifax thunders down the runway, the intercom fills with the lyrics of "We're off on the road to Morocco."
On the road to Morocco. This taxi is tough on the spine. Beats the bus until it beats me where we're going, why we're going.
Crossing the French coast near Dieppe, 10 cloud is encountered over much of France before dispersing over Germany. John Searby notes worryingly that vapor trails are forming behind the high-flying Lancasters, visible in the moonlight and a dead giveaway to prowling night fighters. Tonight may not be so easy. Despite being routed further south, the bomber stream still encounters the numbered night fighting positions of the Kammhuber line. Several approaches are made by night fighters of Nachtjagdgeschwader 4, and a Pathfinder Stirling and 2 Halifaxes are shot down as the bomber stream passes through these positions. A Stirling from 149 Squadron is approached 4 times by German night fighters, successfully corkscrewing out of each approach.
Ju-88 as sighted by the mid-upper gunner on starboard quarter, approximately 700 yards away at the same height as our aircraft. Mid-upper gunner again gave commentary and ordered the captain to prepare to turn to starboard and lose height. Order go was given at 500 yards and the captain again did a rate 4 return to starboard through 90 degree, losing 300 feet. Enemy aircraft immediately broke away to port quarter above and was lost.
Entering the southern named night fighting positions, for the third time, Mandrill and Tinsel jamming neutralizes the efforts of Nachtjagdgeschwader 101, who are unable to shoot down any of the approaching bombers. But a lone Halifax flying separate from the bomber stream is attacked by a night fighter of NJG-4, and the bomber and night fighter shoot each other down in the engagement. Arriving over the target, the bombers encounter scattered medium cloud and hazy ground conditions. The southwesterly approach to Stuttgart brings the Y aircraft over hilly terrain, which muddles the radar returns and limits the distance from which the city shows up on H2S screens. However, over Stuttgart, the outline of the city shows up clearly on H2S sets, allowing for accurate marking of the aiming point by the Y aircraft. 10 Y aircraft marked the aiming point accurately with their red indicators over a 15-minute period from 2245 to 2300 hours. Starting at 2250 hours, the backers up begin to arrive, dropping green indicators on the still burning red indicators, or the aiming point if they are able to identify it. However, some later marking by backers up falls wide of the aiming point, landing over 3 miles southwest of the target. The initially accurate pathfinding marking is for naught, however, as the main force arrives so late that most of the well-placed indicators have burnt out. For the first confirmed time, the Germans deploy red dummy indicators, which combined with errant green indicators dropped 3 miles southwest of the aiming point by backers up, draw much of the bombing to the southwest of Stuttgart. Ron Reed's Bombardier is one of those misled, bombing on red indicators at 2312 hours, minutes after the last Pathfinder red indicator dropped would have burnt out.
Target was attacked and bombed at 2312 hours from a height of 1500 feet. Identified by PFF markers and flares. Bombed concentration of green and red markers, and own bombs seemed to burst. About 10 fires developed northeast of the markers.
Leaving the target, Reed narrowly avoids an attacking night fighter.
A fighter attacked us unexpectedly on the way out. I was surprised, and I thought he had us cold. I flung the aircraft around, expecting a nasty battle, but we evaded him easily. And we decided he must have been a sprug.
As the raid progresses, the bombing drifts 1 mile north of the initial concentration and 2 miles southwest towards the dummy indicators. The village of Weingen, 4 miles southwest of Stuttgart, is mistaken by many crews for Stuttgart, which is reinforced by a backers up which drops green indicators on it. John Searby is among those crews who unwittingly is drawn to the burning village.
Hazy over target. Target indicator bombs in sights. Bombs seem to explode and concentration of fires. Height of bombing 17,000 feet. Time 2318 hours. There was a large concentration of fires, which seemed well northwest of aiming point.
During the raid, a bomber is seen spiraling down with the starboard inner engine on fire, likely hit by flak. By 2335 hours, the raid ends, with most of the bomb load having been deposited on outlying villages or in the open countryside. Leaving Stuttgart, the Pathfinders drop incendiaries at Baden-Baden as a navigational aid for the bombers. Nachtjagdgeschwader 101 again fails to inflict any losses on the exfiltrating bombers, and a night fighter of Nachtjagdgeschwader 4 is shot down by the gunners of a Royal Canadian Air Force Halifax, killing the German crew.
Aircraft was attacked by, I believe, Messerschmitt 210. The rear gunner opened fire with long bursts and held it until the enemy aircraft broke away. Both the pilot and the rear gunner saw the aircraft go down in flames and explode on the ground. The enemy aircraft is claimed as destroyed.
Passing back through the numbered night fighting positions, more approaches and engagements occur, and NJG-4 shoots down 3 Halifaxes, a Sterling, and a Pathfinder Lancaster, while a Royal Canadian Air Force Halifax gunner shoots down a night fighter in return, killing the crew. Surviving bomber crews report 29 approaches and 5 follows by night fighters. 8 bombers survive full-blown attacks by night fighters with a mixture of evasive maneuvers and defensive fire. 5 of the bombers suffer damage during these attacks but manage to return to base. Stuttgart escapes serious damage. Photo reconnaissance the next day shows almost no damage to Stuttgart, while the village of Weingen is seen to have suffered severe damage. 3 other outlying villages in the area also show evidence of scattered damage from the errant bombing. The mine laying operations in comparison are a great success, with 13 aircraft depositing 71 mines around the Frisian Islands and Gironde. RAF analysis shows that of the 314 aircraft dispatched, 29 turned back due to various reasons, and 268 claimed to have bombed the primary target. Of this, 32% placed their bombs within 3 miles of the aiming point. Looking at the timekeeping records of the raid, the operational research section notes that many of the late arriving main force crews claimed to have bombed on red and green indicators long after the Pathfinder indicators would have burnt out. Evidence was now building that the Germans were beginning to use decoy indicators, designed to resemble Pathfinder indicators and meant to draw bombing away from their cities. All the mine-laying aircraft returned successfully, but 11 aircraft attacking Stuttgart failed to return, 3.5% of the force. 9 fall to night fighters, while 2 fall to flak. 405 Squadron Royal Canadian Air Force suffers exceptionally badly, losing 4 of the 15 bombers it dispatches on this, its first raid with Bomber Command since returning from duty with Coastal Command. Based off sightings and radio intercepts, Bomber Command estimates at least 7 losses to fighters and possibly 3 losses to flak. Evidence of effective jamming of German radio communication was again noted. The failure of the raid is noticed by Josef Goebbels, who records in his diary,
In addition to disruptive flights during the day, the British were in southwestern Germany at night with 150 planes. A stronger group attacked Stuttgart. Because of fogging, industrial installations could not be accurately located, so that no major damage was done there. Mainly, residential districts have been hit. According to reports so far, 42 were killed and 117 wounded. 10 enemy planes were shot down by night fighters, 1 by flak.
Having now attacked 3 cities deep in southern Germany in 4 nights, Harris turns his gaze elsewhere. The below-average losses his bombers have suffered on these raids demonstrated the weakness of German defenses in the region, and it was hoped the Germans would be forced to deploy more night fighters and flak units to southern Germany now that the threat to the region had been established. While the attack on Stuttgart was a complete failure, and the attacks on Munich and Nuremberg only partially successful, the raids nevertheless proved useful experience for Bomber Command on how to utilize the still new H2S ground mapping radar, which had only come into service a month prior. In particular, Bomber Command had largely worked out the pathfinding marking technique it would use to mark and illuminate German cities in the coming months when using H2S radar. The seeds of far more calamitous and infamous future attacks on German cities had been sown in these rather unspectacular raids.